Hey y'all, it's your girl Sia, and I'm back with another video. Just doing a face card real quick, y'all. I love my makeup today. Um, I do, okay. And I don't have too crazy of makeup on. I try to keep it very natural looking, but every now and then, depending on what I do, it just kind of pops. Okay. But I use Ilia for you guys who don't know. And I love Ilia because it comes photogenic ready. It is a luxury makeup. So, if you guys haven't noticed, a lot of my luxury items are not clothes. They're usually like perfumes and makeups and certain things that I just feel like are intimate to me. And so that like Ilia, I was at using Bare Minerals and I loved Bare Minerals, especially when I was young. I felt like Bare Minerals was perfect for my face. I didn't break out a whole lot. And that's key, right? Is not breaking out a whole lot, not getting a whole lot of blemishes, stuff like that. And then one day I put on Bare Minerals after COVID, I believe. I went and bought some Bare Minerals, put it on, and y'all, I looked old. So I was like, I can't do this. And no shade to anybody who's older and you just look your age, right? I know that I just felt like I looked way too old for my age, okay? And it was when I was younger, it worked, but Ilia, because when I went to the store, they were like, I was telling them what was going on. My face and skin was breaking out like crazy. And they were like, "Oh my God, are you in front of a computer all day?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like that's what I do." And come to find out, part of the reason why I was breaking out and I looked older is because like my face started to look like it was drooping. It was weird, y'all. Hold on, because I don't like the shine. It'd be driving me nuts. Um, but um really just like I didn't like my look. I wasn't like how I look now. Like right now, I look like awake, alive, me. Okay. And it was just giving me vibes that I was like, I can't do it. Okay. So I went to the store. They told me I went to Sephora and they told me that part of like a lot of people who were utilizing Bare Minerals before COVID came in with very similar issues after COVID, which was very interesting. And so they don't know why, obviously. I mean, I'm sure somebody does, but those girls themselves didn't. And I remember the experience. I went to the Cherry Creek Mall and because I was like, I'm gonna just go buy some Dior. In my mind, like I don't have a woman kind of guiding me with makeup a little bit. So I'm going through trial and error, right? And I know that I'm very specific about my look. And so I was just gonna go with what I had Googled, basically. And thank God this man, I see him all the time. I feel like I actually met him outside of his job and his role. He's a white man. And he comes up to me and he's gay, and he's like, "Hey," and he's talking to me and I'm talking to him. And he's like, "Well, yeah, what kind of makeup are you looking for?" And I was like, "Well, this is what I want." Because in my head, I'm thinking, I know what I want, right? He said, "Well, let me get some girls." He said, "I hear you. Let me get somebody that can come over here and kind of help you and or introduce you to other makeups that you may like." And so I was like, "Yeah, okay." But in my mind, I'm like, I'm not trying to be here for very long. Like I know what I want. And so I remember going for like a Dior like a foundation, and it didn't quite look right, but I at least wanted to see what it looked like, right? And then the two black girls, so funny how they gave me the girls that were my skin color, came to me, and this chocolate girl, she was like, "Oh girl, let me show you." And they put me on the Ilia, and ever since, you guys, I have been in love with it, right? Ilia is something that you can use. It's very, I say healthy. It's a tint, right? So that's all it is a tint to your face. It's not really makeup. Like they say it's not makeup, right? But it lasts very, very long. So like Okay. This is me after work. Okay. Of course, I had a little bit of shine, which I feel is normal. But outside of that, the makeup really stays. And I mix my makeups. I still use well, I don't use anything of Bare Minerals anymore. I take that back. I still have different makeups. Like I have a different eyelash mascara, right? But I also have Ilia's mascara too. I got different kinds. So I switch it up. But for the most part, what goes on my face is gonna be Ilia, their tint, and then their Blu-ray protection, because that I find that maybe that I need it. I don't know that I do, but I just know that Bare Minerals wasn't protecting me from nobody's Blu-ray. Okay. Um, But anywho, I want to talk about this, right? Because I talked about this on my last channel, and I got to remember that I'm rebuilding my channel. So, um, I just got to know where all my videos are, which I'm sure they're probably still stored on StreamYard. Um, but I wanted to talk about this because I really, really feel like I'm really passionate about this topic, right? And I get very cautious around certain individuals, especially after um, COVID. Now, with that being said, I know back in the day, right? You had Malcolm X, who he talked about how liberals were some of the most racist people that were ever known to Black people, right? And I don't know it, I'm kind of curious as to why Blacks were initially Republicans and then decided that we were going to go Democrat. um I'm curious what made us make that switch. I know that at one point I knew what made the switch, but maybe I don't, right? So I would like to touch up on that history and kind of know why Black people went Democrat at that time. Because you had the Democratic Party, and this is something that I've stated many times, which is they were founded initially, in terms, they were founded, but almost to be as a force to kind of hold Black people back, to keep Black people in their quote unquote place. So it was like two sides, not two sides of the same coin, but essentially two sides of the same coin. But you had the Republicans, which I believe that's what we knew at one point. I don't know that Blacks had the right to vote, so I don't know, like I said, I don't know why we transitioned over to the Democratic Party. Like, I don't know what that was about. But what I do know is that at some point we made that switch. And I know this to be true is that usually when you see that you have options, you really don't. However, it was almost as if the Democratic Party was created it was like a trick. Like, we're going to give you the illusion that we're separate, right? That we're for you. Again, I say separate for a reason. But they were it's like McDonald's and Burger King, right? It's like, hey, we're going to show you that we're a little different than this group, but they're not really that different, if that makes sense. Now they become really, really different. But back then, the Democratic Party was still new. So in order to pander to the Black male or the Black woman, they still had to somewhat align with the ideologies that Black people once and really are showing that we still support. I think what we're seeing now more than ever is, Black people really beginning, like, people's pockets are hurting. And the more your pocket is hurting, the more you're beginning to realize that maybe I didn't make the right choices, especially as you've got illegal immigrants, excuse me, come in here and able to take advantage of resources that Black people didn't even know they had, right? So you've got all these things going on. And it's very, I be trying to think of the words, y'all, because it's hard to describe what my mind says sometimes, okay? But it's very difficult, I think, for Black people to see that. And it's not just Black people. I want to be clear. It is difficult for Americans to see that their quality of life is dwindling as a result of folks that nobody invited, right? To keep it 1,000. We didn't ask for these folks to come here. The government brought them here, right? And it's unfortunate because what we were just shown in the last, month, 2 months, probably even longer than that, but I think it's become more real in the last 2 months, right? That we live in a country where folks don't give a damn about us. Okay. And it's cool to see whites and Blacks finally get the point. It's like, I mean, I know the rich people in their minds, not all, but some, right? I'm sure they're like, well, we'll be okay. We'll just wait it out. We'll be okay. But folks are not understanding. Nobody is like safe. Nobody is immune to, like, there's only 1% of the world that really run shit. Everybody else is still trying to catch up. And while we know that we're doing great, the way in which they're building this economy, you guys, and they're structuring this new way of life, right? This new world order. Hello, world. See, this is the whole, like, y'all, it's really it's hard because it's really coming through. Like, I used to think like, oh, we got time. No, time is up, right? They told us that already, though. So you guys have to understand, this is it for things to turn out the way they are, it's just crazy. But you have a switch. You have this situation where the Democratic Party was really built to divide and conquer, right? It was there to get the Black folks on their side. And the intent the entire time was to hold Black people back. That's it, and that's all. So in this situation, right, Black people have been voting for these people for quite some time. And they knew that Black people would vote for them because of how it's done, how it was ran based upon the emotions. Black people have emotions, right? We have some of the most controllable emotions ever. We do, as a group. It's easy because of what we've gone through. A lot of people utilize that as a means to kind of not control their emotions. And I want to say this, right? Y'all have to understand, I was telling my daughter this. When people call you the N-word, right? The goal in that is to get a reaction out of you, right? It's not even really because, I mean, I don't want to say that the person's not racist, but I feel like people, in my experience, I've been called the N-word probably 3-4 times, at least to my face, right? And a lot of that, I was really young. The girls who called me the N-word were really young. And while that is not an excuse, right? You knew that at that point, because of how I was raised, these girls were just trying to antagonize me. They were trying to get a rise out of me. See, when I was young, because you're dealing with a lot of pettiness, right? A lot of cattiness, a lot of pettiness, right? And what girls would do is we're going to, and I didn't understand at the time that they were really just going off of my emotions, my willingness to give them my power, right? Um, so they would call me the N word and I would lash out. Now, I was raised not to lash out, but considering the circumstances, I'm gonna do it just on GP, just because of the circumstances I was dealing with, right? Why not, right? It was like, okay, you gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. But it took a lot of restraint. I'm gonna tell you guys now. I never put my hands on anybody, right? It took a lot of restraint. Okay. I said a lot of things. You can bet your bottom dollar. I went off. Everybody knew it, but I never put my hands on those people. And the reason I did not put my hands on those girls, right, is because deep down I knew that they were just trying to trigger me so that at some point they can call the cops and or be like, see, she's aggressive. She's aggressive. See, I told you guys, you know what I mean? So I would never give them that satisfaction of put my hands on them. And that, like, I swear people, it's because of that. They knew, like, oh, she's upset. Rightfully so. You spit on me, you called me the N word. And again, I don't think this was like how y'all see it on TV. I think it was just a girl being young, dumb, and calling me the N word. One, because she's seen it somewhere before, but two, just to get a rise out of me. And anytime you guys are dealing with Caucasians, right? I'm gonna let y'all know now. That's how they fight. I don't know about the men because I'm not a man, but in terms of women, well, outside of like places where they're just very direct, right? Um, in the state of Colorado, this is how these folks fight. They fight. It's a very passive like fight. It's a very, I'm gonna do whatever I can to get a rise out of you, right? And basically, if you're the one who's stupid enough to not get it, they're going to be somehow in the win somehow, right? Because they're able to then say, okay, you put your hands on me, now I'm calling the cops, right? Even though they provoked you and antagonized you the entire time. And 9 times out of 10, you going to go to jail and or get a ticket for assaulting somebody. Just is what it is. So I was raised to never put myself in that position, although I could have put myself in that position and allowed myself to go there several times. Okay. So in this experience in my life, right, I've learned that, things are done in attempts to really play on Black people's emotions, right? So that Black people will vote a certain way and only look at life from a certain lens, right? And in some areas, it's worse than others because of the things that folks are being taught and or not being taught, okay? Black people as a whole are more conservative than we are liberal. This is why you're seeing more and more Blacks move over to the other side. I was only alive to be able to vote for two people, and that's, or maybe, nah, I think it's two people. Because when did Obama leave term? Obama and Trump, I think that's it. And the first time I voted for Obama, and the reason I voted for Obama, because I had no idea what I was doing. But what ended up kind of throwing me off a bit is the fact that I was voting for a man who had already been announced that he was winning, like he was the president, right? So I felt like my vote really didn't matter, right? And I think that his second term, was it his second term? Y'all, I can't remember timelines, but I think his second term, I sat it out. I didn't vote. Okay. Then I voted for Trump, right? And I voted for Trump because I felt like giving me Hillary Clinton was laughable. Like there was no way I was voting for Hillary Clinton. Like there's no way. And at the time, I felt like having a option like Trump was crazy and insane. Okay. But I didn't know what Trump was going to do. So when Trump gets in office, it was really cool to see him do at least majority of what he said he was going to do. Now, did he fall short in some areas? Yes. But for the most part, he did what he set forth to do, or at least strive to, right? Um, so we're in a time where I feel as though I've said this before, Democrats know that they're losing, right? But keep in mind, right? We are now in or progressing towards a new age, a new way of life. And this new world order, like I told you guys, it's not the end of the world, it's just the end of the world as we know it to be, right? And so obviously when you talk about a new world, you're looking at a new world. Do you get what I'm saying? A completely new like world, right? And so I just got another sale, y'all. I'm really excited because I'm hyping this up for my daughter. Like, I'm like, kid, if I could pay for your schooling, all I'm thinking about is one, I want a little cut, just a little bit, you know what I mean? Just so I could fund myself, but I want to be able to utilize what she buys for college. Like, that's a perfect way to pay for her schooling, and this is her money, right? I'm managing it for right now because it's my money that's invested into it. So what I told her is the money you make is just going to sit in your store. I'm not touching it. Obviously once the business grows, then I've got to reinvest that money into hold on, let me see what I'm excited, y'all. Oh, we got another. I got another sale. Woo woo. Hey, sorry y'all, because we just got a sale not too long ago, and now we got another one. So I'm like, damn, okay. But I've been holding all the money in her account. I got big plans for this kid, and she wants to do YouTube and she wants to be like an influencer, right? And so I'm like, why not? Like, the kid is smart with technology. Like, that's where people's brains have to start understanding. I'm going off on a tangent, but y'all are rocking with me tonight. These children are very good with electronics, and I believe that everything happens for a reason. So while people talk so much shit about this generation, her generation, right? If guided by the right people, because granted, I'm not your typical like traditional mom that we knew growing up either, right? But given everything that we know about how these children are raised, right? The having the phones all the time. These kids know how to run a phone at 2, at 1, right? So these things, if you're able to tap in and you've got a level of influence, then you're able to what's the word? You're then able to kind of train and guide the kid. And I'm not going to tell my kid she can't do what she wants to do to make money. Like, granted, an influencer is not necessarily a college degree, but as she's young, while she's still growing and living and spending my money, the girl can make some money too. You understand me? And when they start younger and they get it down, they're more than likely able, like, she's learning how to run her own business. Do you get what I'm saying? Meanwhile, mommy's got control, but I've got control because I'm the one with the resources. I'm the one with the tools. I'm the one that will help her to be able to take her business from point A to point B. I'm the one that knows people that can take her business from point A to Z to C to Z, right? So it's all of these different factors in one. So I'm really, really proud of her. That was exciting to see. And I can't wait to see what kind of numbers like this store does, right? Because it's very much up her alley, right? And once I start making enough, the goal is to start getting her in videos, start doing her own videos. She can do her little product reviews or be weird or whatever the hell she wants to do on freaking YouTube, but you're going to be selling your store at the same time. You know what I mean? So it's cool to see it. Now, with that being said, I want to get back into what I was talking about. I feel as though we're living in an interesting time because this time is all about the world, right? So when you're hearing the words New World Order, like stuff like that, right? And folks are really freaking out. But it wasn't nothing new. I mean, it kind of is something to freak out, but it's a different way of life, right? There's no secret that these babies are being born. That's what I was saying. There's no secret that these babies are being born at a time when the world is shifting, right? Just like it's really no surprise that you've got all these illegals here. Okay. And they're being flown here, right? They're being placed here. They're being told that this is the place that they can come, right? To where now Americans across the board, not just Black Americans, but from what I understand, when you look at the wealth gap, it's like the people from other countries are actually a little bit more wealthier than all of us here in America for the most part. Which is crazy. It don't even matter if you white. Like the median, what was the guy saying? The median salary for a white individual was like it is low. It's not as high as I think people think. I think that a lot of white people is weird because some of them have old money, right? So things that are like old money, right? Things that are like passed down from generational wealth type shit. But a lot of white people are struggling in the same manner financially that Black people are. I mean, but Black people are just not even, some of us are not even surviving financially. So that's, that's where takes a turn a little bit. Because there's a lot of Black homeless, right? So you have all these things happening. In 2020, you have Biden say, now, Democrats are known to have founded the KKK, right? And they played it off as if it wasn't them. I think, I don't know, because I wasn't there. But my assumption is there's no way you're KKK to somebody's face and people just, just go with it, right? They trick these people, okay, these Blacks, into supporting them. And slowly but surely, and I really want to say this, they play the long game, right? So slowly but surely, right, they were able to get Black people, or excuse me, their ideologies have really gone far left, completely left of what the average everyday Black person is raised to be or value. Okay. So now we're in a situation where you have liberals that are really liberal. They're not even like a balance of liberal. They're out of their fucking minds liberal. And the first thing that anybody, I mean, we could argue and debate about Obama not doing much for the Blacks, right? You could really argue Clinton's reign too, as it relates to the housing bubble and everything that we saw transpire in 2008. But people, Black people hold Clinton dear to them. So, they don't really want to talk about Clinton because a lot of what occurred happened after Clinton, right? So the things that were happening, the home loans that were allowed to happen, these things were being done to set Black people up. Biden and his crime bill, right? I think it was the 3 strikes you're outlaw or whatever. That stuff was, all done to kind of, make it look like they were helping Black people, but meanwhile, they were setting Black people up to fail, right? And again, not just Black people, because you had a lot of others that fell through that crack as well, but I'm just saying that was the intent. So now, fast forward, we have the situation with Black Lives Matter. You're seeing police, do what they do against young Black males, right? And now the entire country is in outrage. But it wasn't, see, this is the thing. Black people know Black people. We know each other. We know when a situation don't seem right. We know when I mean, if we're really thinking with our minds, our critical thinking skills and our caps, right? We usually know when there's something off about what an individual did or did not do. And a lot of the situations that we see that have taken place were questionable. And not questionable from the police standpoint, but also from the victim standpoint, right? We had several situations where you saw several criminals being, held up as martyrs, right? During the Black Lives Matter movement, right? And what's so bizarre about this is you only seen the Black Lives Matter movements in the hood. And the craziest thing about it is I will never forget all the white people that were out there marching. See, you guys think the white people were marching for us. Mm-mm, no. There's a lot of people that were out there destroying the very cities that just happen to be sanctuary cities. They just happen to be sanctuary cities. So now you've got all these illegal immigrants in these places. Not Black Lives Matter. If you ain't noticed, the stuff is like a freaking simulation. It ain't Black Lives Matter anymore. It's illegal immigrants. One thing after another. So, y'all, I just in my mind, okay, um I feel as though, and I'll say this. Let me be back up. In 2020, one of the most racist things a liberal has done is reminded a black person just how much they were oppressed and enslaved and all of these things. I remember going off on some white people because I'm like, how the fuck are you going to tell me what the fuck I am? Like, I may be struggling, I may have issues with my race, but I never felt oppressed. Like, not to say that we're not oppressed in certain ways, because I guess that can be debatable. But then again, I would say maybe different language could have been used to describe what they're really talking about, right? I don't feel like folks are supreme. I was just never raised like that. I don't feel like somebody's better than me because of their skin color. And I don't adhere to that kind of thought process. If y'all ain't noticed, I don't adhere to it. I notice it. I'm aware of it. I can't help but to be aware of it, but I don't adhere to it. So my old roommate, for example, he would tell me all the time, yeah, because he didn't know no better. So he'd be like, how, going off because he's trying to stand up for his black daughters, right? And I'm like, fool, like, the fuck? Like, you don't realize how racist you actually sound with the shit that was coming out of these folks' mouth. You had people that were white arguing with me about my oppression and white supremacy and I don't know who I am and da da da. Like, if you don't go sit your ass down, go sit down somewhere. And it will piss me off because in my mind, that like when a white person is trying to convince a black person, and only in this situation, it's just like trying to convince a Mexican that you know more about his culture than he does. It's fucking rude as fuck. It wasn't something that I'm looking at like, oh, you got my back. No, I'm looking at it like, damn, like, do you want me to be oppressed or something? I'm just saying. Okay. So I felt like then was the obvious time that folks were just not, they were pretty, racist. Okay. Then you have this circumstance where they're trying to say, well, Trump is the actual racist. Trump been around black folk his whole life. Let me tell you something. If you are in New York or you from New York, like, no offense, while it still may be a little bit segregated by choice in terms of I may want to hang out with people who look more like me. Those areas are extremely diverse. So you cannot convince me that this man was a full-on racist when he's sitting around taking photos and doing everything else with everything else. Last time I checked, money didn't care about your skin color. I mean, am I wrong? Money is green. That's what brought Trump together with everybody else. Okay. Trump has always been a business owner, always. And I know a lot of people who would say, well, he's not very smart. He, went into tens of thousands of dollars of debt. Y'all really don't know how money is, how to use money. Apparently, we don't understand that debt is a tool. Okay. It's a tool to be utilized if you know how to play the game. Trump was in debt. I don't know if he's still in debt, but I know he was in debt. He's been known to be in debt. That doesn't mean that man ain't making no money, though. Two different things. So for all these folks that are, oh, you're in hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans. Yeah, that may be true. But understand, well, not me. I'm just saying in general. But if a person knows how to play their cards right, that student loan can eventually help to build their credit. But folks don't even really think about stuff like that. If you're paying on a student loan and you're paying off every month or however that looks like, and you paying on it every month faithfully, you look more responsible than someone who doesn't necessarily have a student loan. Now, may you be eligible for a home loan? That's a whole nother conversation, right? And I'm pretty sure you can still get a home loan with student loans. It just depends on your situation, your financial situation. And I mean that with sincerity. So you have these circumstances where they were trying to blame Trump for being racist, and all the black people fell for it because of our emotions. Like I said, this is why I was telling that story with the girls who would call me the N-word. And as mad as I was, y'all got to understand something, because I was in an environment where that was okay. I could be upset. But I never gave these women the light of day with their girls. I never gave them the light of day in terms of them being able to say, ha ha, that's why you're going to jail. Like, no, fuck that. So if it ever came down to the circumstance, right, I would much rather have an openly racist man, right? I'm talking about Trump, right? Because I don't think Trump's racist, but I know that that's what people like to say. Maybe prejudice, maybe, but racist, no. Over a man that had the audacity to tell me that if I don't vote for him, I'm not fucking black. I didn't vote for him. I'm still black. Last time I checked, all right? So I voted for Trump. And everybody called me a coon because we were in our emotions. We allowed this white man, this president, this guy who is showing you that he don't give a fuck about you, to control your emotions. Now, with the white people, I don't think it's the same thing. I think there's a lot of people white people, okay? And I don't, shout out to the ones who are not like this. But I feel as though after Black Lives Matter, the 2020 riots or whatever you want to call them, them were crazy. Those were insane, right? And they were being committed by mostly white people. It was majority of white people. I don't care how folks want to spin the story. It was white folks up in them communities and a bunch of immigrants, okay? So after seeing that, I have been officially convinced that white liberals are just in on some shit, period. Liberals in general, it don't even fucking matter. White, black, pink, purple. It's the whole ideology. It's all of what this liberal thought process has been founded off of. Like I said, it's one thing to be a liberal and be in the middle, but these folks are way left. Like they're like, when you're looking at balance and you're looking at a scale, they should be closer to the middle than they are the far left. And they're not. I'm sorry. This shit is insane. Like, it's cool to see, because I'm really recognizing that we're living throughout a time of history. It's a legitimate, like, this is real, like, history going on. Like the stuff that you used to read about in the history books. But it's frustrating because it's like, bro, we only got, I don't even know if we can fix this. Like, I know, like, and the reason why I say I don't know is because I don't want to, after everything I've seen in the last few years, I cannot say that there's one solution to the problem. I'm standing true to that. Well, there is one solution. Liberals got to go. And I'm not saying they got to go, like, but they need to get out of politics. We got to be getting these folks up out of here. It's time. So I believe, and everything that I go through, like, even I live in a very liberal city. It's not even a state, because I keep telling y'all, majority of these folks were red. Believe it or not, our screen looked red until the counties came back in, and it was like, oh shoot. So, and that's what you're seeing happening right now, is you got all these different counties that are like, no, we ain't dealing with this migrant crisis. They're red counties. These are red counties, naturally known red counties in the state of Colorado. There's a ton of them. They just don't make up enough to make up the majority. So I live in a very blue city, but it's a blue state. I mean, the mindset is still very liberal, I would like to say. Right. I would say that I don't know what, I haven't paid attention enough to Colorado politics to know what the motive is for the vote. I hope that Colorado turns purple, if not red, this year. It's got to go back to what it was, because Colorado is such a beautiful state. Like, that's the thing about our state. Honestly, I think we're more beautiful than New York and all those places. We are a very beautiful state. And it sucks to see what's happening with our state. So I don't know, y'all. I feel as though you're seeing a lot of these things take place in liberal cities, because I really feel like liberals are racist. When you have white people telling you, especially black people, that we're racist, right? Because we're calling them out on their bullshit. And now all of a sudden they want to play this game like black people all of a sudden got enough power to keep them from eating. That's not the same level of shit. And so it's very, again, the refusal to deal with racism, the refusal to acknowledge racism, the mockery of it all, right? The all of this at the same time is black people's vote, poor people's vote, that are voting these folks in. So I believe that this is a systematic, I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes, right? Because y'all can go into, at least during COVID, I don't know about now because I haven't been following them as much. But Tori says, y'all, you cannot find her on YouTube. They scrubbed YouTube of a lot of people. A lot of people. I've been having to go to like Rumble and stuff like that just to find the people that I used to follow. And Tori says it was very interesting because her situation is interesting. But she put me on to something, right? She put me on to the World Economic Forum, like real talk. And they were doing like these Zoom meetings, right? It was so crazy at the times. They would do these Zoom meetings that you could like, I don't know if people recorded them. I don't know. But I felt like that was TMI, like too much info, the stuff that they were saying, the things that they were in support of. They had the destruction of America down to a science, right? And you got to understand something. What they're doing here, they've done everywhere else. So they do have it down to a science, right? And so everything that we were seeing take place was done intentionally. Like all that stuff was being done, and they were talking about it, and they were telling Antifa and all these people, Black Lives Matter, how to go do what they do so that they can do what they need to do, so that they can get things done and get it accomplished by a certain timeline. So what you saw was a clear dismantling of this country. And it's crazy that that shit was even allowed. Like, we're talking about fucking, what was it, January 6th? They need to be talking about Black Lives Matter. Like, I mean, I would think, and this is just my personal opinion, I would think all of them people that went out in March that day should be under inspection or investigation. It's the same thing how you have the police officer. I love him. He's a sheriff. I really like that guy. And I don't know if I would ever move to Polk County, Florida, but I like their sheriff, damn it. And you know how he just found all them sex traffickers, right? I'm not going to go into that story, but I am a little bit for the sake of this conversation. All of them folks was liberals, and these liberals are getting paid off of these illegal immigrants coming here to have to pay. They like indentured servants. They like having to pay, slave away to pay their freedom. That's some bullshit. Sorry, that ain't the American dream, right? So they were sold some shit, right? So you've got all these liberals that just happen to think like this, and they don't think that nothing's wrong. Like, the thing about it is, wrong is in your face day in and day out these days, right? I mean, it doesn't really take a rocket scientist to point out where the shit's being fucked up at. Excuse my language, but it's the truth. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to put two and two together. So when you're dealing with folks, this is what I have to believe, because you've got people like, what's that guy's name in New York, Eric Adams or whatever. That man is toting the line. He's somebody's got, I think that somebody's got something on him or something, because you could tell he totes all these leaders tote the line though. They don't know what they want to do. One moment they're like, yeah, let's go for this. And then they're backpedaling. Then they see something else happen and then they backpedal. And it's like, bro, either you kicking these folks out or what? Like, I'm tired of hearing talking about these evictions. Like, what? Okay, so they happen every so many days. What happens when the people are evicted? Are we sending them back? I mean, like, I just feel like there's a little bit more to these mayors than what we're understanding. And you can't convince me that they're stupid. Like, I know that maybe they are stupid. But don't these folks got college degrees? And I know college degrees don't automatically make you smart, but I would assume that there maybe, I don't know. But I would assume that there would be a level of common sense that comes with a degree. Like, like they need to be sending folks back to common thought, like training. Because I would think that if you're doing something, it's like they're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole and the shit ain't working. You understand what I'm saying? And they don't think, like, they're going to, like, this mayor here, this little fruitcake, he a fruitcake too. I put money on it. He a little too weak. That means that somebody's above him. This white man is weak as fuck, okay? And I know his type, and I feel like he is not like my old roommate. My old roommate was tough, right? Like, short but tough. And I know white guys that are tough, right? He looks like a little, like, you can just flick him, like he'll fall over. He's a little bit dainty. He talks a little bit good game, but he ain't got the walk to back it up. He got a bite, but no bark. Or, yeah, y'all know what I mean. Or a bark with no bite. There you go. That's him. So it's weird because I feel like he's pandering to somebody, and it ain't black people. He's pandering to somebody. It ain't us, because we only make up like a percentage of the Coloradan population. Like, at this point, you could say most blacks are just kind of looked over at this point, because majority of them are homeless. When they come here, now you do have some rich black folks. You do have blacks with money here. Don't get it twisted. But it's not a lot in comparison to how many white people are here. When people come from places like Atlanta, it's so funny, because they always, when I used to hang out with my girls or whatever, and they'd be like, where are all the black people? And I'm like, what you mean? Like, because this is what we grew up knowing. Like, whether it's racism or not, like, this is what, when you grew up here, you're used to what you see. You know what I mean? Versus somebody who comes from a completely different state. Like, if I came here when I was a grown up, probably, I probably would have been left. I would have left a long time ago. But I love y'all. I can't go too far. If I go somewhere, I'm gonna have to, because I'm a mountain girl. Like, I love the mountains. I love it with all my passion and my soul. I feel like maybe I was a cowboy back in the day, or cowgirl, whatever. I don't know what the name for it was. But I feel like maybe I was just meant for the Wild West. Not California, but Wild West. The Midwest or whatever. Texas, maybe. I don't know, right? That's just what I know in my spirit. Okay. So my thing is, you've got all these things happening, right? And you got these mayors, and I just feel like the mayors, there's something like either they're intentionally trying to destroy the country, and I say striving actually because they're doing it. They're not trying anymore. They're doing, right? They're either intentionally striving to, I just don't believe they're dumb. I believe it's intentional. I believe a lot of this shit is intentional. And I believe they run like cowards. You know what I mean? Like, once you hold them accountable, because you got to understand something. I really believe that adults know what the fuck they're doing. They just don't care. If you put money in my pocket, and this is the problem, when you're willing to sell your soul for a damn dollar, you're liable to do anything. So if you think these people are about to outlast this shit, no, they're not. They're going down with you. They're going down with me too. These folks are not going to be protected in the same way that few percentage is. It's not like Eric Adams. They're not taking that full with them. They was to go to Mars tomorrow. That dude is stuck here. They'd be like, yeah, we'll see you, yeah. And then they leave his ass. They lie to him and leave him. That's how people like them get done. That's the truth. So you sell your soul for $1 to some people who don't even give a fuck about you. That's some bullshit. That's some bullshit. Meanwhile, you selling out your own people. So when them people go, who's going to save your ass? So I don't, I understand, because there's a lot that comes with that. What is that? Like, there's something, Judas. There's somebody, I don't know, but there's somebody in history that has had a similar storyline, and they carry that burden tough. Think about that. That's why they always toting the line. They don't know what side they really want to be on, because they're one part of them, they done sold out. And then the other part of them is like, what the fuck? Like, you just did this. Like, they have to sit in that shit. So I don't think it's just about money. I think there's a deeper issue here. I think that people really do not like America. And I bet you got more immigrants in office than people really know. That's what's even colder. When you allow a president with the last name Obama, and I know black people, y'all say, well, we African and all that, and that's our heritage, and we need to embrace it. Like, I don't even know if I'm actually African. I may have a little bit, but I may be more Native American than anything. So I don't identify with Obama. Like, that is not my name. My last name is Jackson, and while y'all will say that's a slave name, still. Okay, that's my last name. It's completely different than Obama. So for me personally, I'm like, I don't know. Like, when you allow Obama to become president, you allowed the door. You just opened the door for so many more things to happen. It's not just him, because when you allow people from other countries to become mayors and governors, like, that's a problem too. I don't like that. I don't care if you're white, black, I don't care, Spanish. I don't understand it. You should be American born first. That's it. That's it. So I think it's deeper. I think that people intentionally did this. This is an intention. There's an intention behind this. It's not a mistake. People like, oh, well, they did this and oops, they didn't know, they couldn't control it. No, this was done intentionally. Now you got Biden trying to pass this 7.2 trillion. Bro, we're already trillions of dollars in debt. Where are they coming up with the 7? This is how y'all know cryptocurrency. If y'all ain't see what's happening with Bitcoin right now, bro, I'm like, oh, this is why I'm investing in my 401k. I don't care how much I got to struggle on my 401k. I'm investing because I want to take money out of my 401k and place it elsewhere. Because I feel like for me, that's probably the best right now, that's probably the biggest way I'll save, right? Because right now I got expenses galore. But I mean, I could be saving if I'm willing to sacrifice, and I'm not. So I got to make more money. But I want to, y'all, cryptocurrency is about to blow up. And I know that everybody's been saying that for so long, but if Bitcoin is going up, that means every other coin is about to keep rising, y'all. And the more the dollar declines, his 7.2 trillion bill, all that's doing is depleting our fucking dollar. The dollar's already crashing. I mean, we're feeling the effects, right? I'm just saying. We're feeling the effects. And I'm middle class. I'm feeling the fucking effects. So when you feel, I'm just saying this is not going to stop. It's not going to be a one-term presidency. That's end all be all. No, this was written. This was written in history. And y'all got to understand, Trump is still the 45th, isn't he? The 45th president? Or maybe 46. Y'all let me know in the comments below. But if he is the 45th president, I got something to say about that, but I will not say it until time goes by. Because I like to analyze before I speak. So y'all got all this situation. We've got this dynamic where the country was pretty much, I mean, destroyed in Black Lives Matter. You had the 2020 thing. You had them testing to see how dumb Americans were, because that's all the COVID shit was. Let's see how dumb y'all are. I don't know if y'all remember the bird flu, but I remember when the bird flu became a thing and we knew not to fall for that shit. Like, it was an automatic, like, when you were young, we were like, man, we're not, that ain't for us. We ain't worried about all that. Or it was at the Ebola scare. It was one of them where people were like, they wanted us to freak out, but people did not freak out the way in that they really wanted us to, right? Some people freaked out, but for the most part, folks were like, whatever, right? Out of sight, out of mind. COVID was something completely different because it shut down people's place of business. It shut down people's place of employment, right? And so now these folks are in their four walls and their minds are going fucking crazy, and folks is freaking out and they trying to hurry up and get out. Y'all know, a shout out to me. I still ain't been vaccinated, and my daughter ain't been vaccinated. I am so proud of us, right? I'm one of the few that can actually say that shit, okay? By the grace of God, because that's only God, right? I just happen to be in the right places at the right time. Shoot. That's how I know there's a God. But you had all these, it was like, I'm gonna test y'all to see what we can get away with. And we talk, what we cannot get away with. So they just learn, okay, well, we got a population that we can control. I don't know what it's going to be like now, hence the movie Civil War, right? Because it's almost like the veil has been lifted. Folks are seeing it for what it is, because now it's affecting their pockets and their homes, and it's affecting them directly, not from 4 or 5 states away. It's happening right in your backyard. Now folks are paying attention, but it's almost like, are we too late? See, prophecy states that we only get a one-time chance to, it's like I don't know. I don't even want to go there. But from what I understand, I don't think it's going to get better. I know some people say it's going to get better, but when? And if it does get better, then it's about to get worse. So, I mean, we're not through half of it. We're not even through the bulk of it. We're just getting started. So I want y'all to understand, I do feel like liberals are very racist, okay? And I say this because the shit that's happened, it really has directly impacted Black people. And I was watching this bishop, right? And I thought, I actually watched a lot of him last night. And he was talking about the Black male, right? And how the intent was to destroy the Black man, right? And I can't help but to think, like, I'm just connecting dots left and right because it's all in front of our face right now. But he goes on to say how, the Black male, you have this conversation about the Black man and his feminine ways now, and the Black woman, and she's masculine now. And you have this dialogue, but it's crazy that we're even having this kind of dialogue at this point at this magnitude when you've got a whole lot of bigger shit happening, right? But you have this man saying that this is what it is, right? And the intent was to make black males more feminine. For I can't remember what he was saying. I don't know the reason really. I think, oh, so black people don't have real leaders, so that there's nobody there that's really there to protect black people, right? Because women can't do it by themselves. We do need men to be strong, men to fight for what they believe in and stand in their truth. And so when you don't have a generation of males to do that, hence you see the gay population, right? And a lot of your black men, where it was once very taboo, now you're starting to see a lot of black males of all different types, of all different calibers becoming gay. And that really wasn't a thing, like not how it is now, right? And you have this being done at the same time you have white men and black women now forming relationships. And something I'll never forget is what they said is that when when white men begin to marry black women, that's how you know that they've won the war, right? So I want to say this, right? Not every white person is a racist, right? Not every white person's ancestors had slaves, right? Not every white person is rich, stuff and stuff and stuff, right? I acknowledge all of that. But I do believe that when you have a party that was rooted in racism, that stemmed from racism, that whose primary goal was to hold back black people. Now the KKK wasn't really there to because we don't like, well, I guess it could have been there because they don't like black people. The KKK was more used as like an arm to scare black people into voting Democrat, not necessarily to because they hated. I mean, I'm sure they do, right? But that wasn't the intent behind forming the KKK was to scare blacks into voting Democrat. That's what it was, right? That's why they switched. But that's why they switched. I want to know why they were Republican in the beginning. That's what I want to know. And I'm sure the history's there and people have said it many times. I forgot or don't know. Okay. But outside of that, you guys, I do feel like white liberals are some of the most racist people on the planet. You know, everything they're doing is intentional. They know who they're harming. They don't give a damn about who they're harming, despite the fact that blacks have voted them in. So I feel like if you could give a Venezuelan a free home, if you can give them $23,000 a month, if you can give them all of this money that they're giving them, black people could have been had their reparations. For as much as I didn't believe in reparations, now I'm like, you might as well have given it to them. So that's all I got to say, y'all. With that being said, let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. Y'all, this topic is crazy. I think it's crazy because I remember saying, I don't see the migrants. I don't see them. I still don't like see migrants in my like peripherals, but they be everywhere. So now they're everywhere. There was a time where I didn't see them as much. And I think it could have been where everything is located, but now you're seeing them more and more and more and more. So I don't have nothing against these illegal immigrants. And I mean, I do the criminals, right? I don't support criminals. I don't support men that, you know, harm women and children. But outside of that, I don't got nothing against them. I just think that the smoke needs to stay on these folks' helmets. And we only got one shot. So I really hope that black people are waking up and understanding that these people are not your friends. They don't give a damn about you. I hope it really shifts your mindset as to how you look at racism, how you see people, how you treat people. Because at the end of the day, like I said, y'all was over here calling Candace Owens a coon, and look, the chick's right. I mean, when you look at a lot of what she's saying, she was right. And these conservatives, the thing about the conservatives is that they're conservative, meaning that the behavior also would have to apply to that ideology, which is conservative. I can fit in right well, just well, but not every black person can. So these are interesting times, and at this point, every American that ain't already established, that ain't already got something going for themselves, is competing against the world. Welcome to the new world order. This is it. This is the beginning stages of it. So let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. I'm getting out of here because I'm tired. But I want to wish you guys a wonderful evening, a wonderful night. Y'all know I'll be back with some more commentary. I'm out. Peace.